right, everybody. Good morning. It's Bernard Nomberg. It is Monday, not Tuesday as we usually come to you, but that's okay. We got a great guest with us for Nomberg Law Live, as we do each week at 10 o'clock on the days that we do this. We have an awesome conversation. And what I like to say is it's an interesting conversation with people in their areas of expertise. And I will say that the gentleman who is my guest today has the job that I most envy right now. He is the general manager and chief of staff of the Vanderbilt baseball program, VandyBoys. Well, please welcome Brooks Webb. Hey, Brooks, thanks for being here with us, bud.
Bernard, great to be with you. Always very kind of you to say that, but always fun to connect with another Birmingham guy.
It is. It is. For those of you who don't know, Brooks, in his former life, he played ball at Birmingham Southern. He was originally from Alabaster, but now he is in an awesome position heading up Coach Corbin's VandyBoys program. What exactly does that mean, being general manager, chief of staff of a D1 baseball program?
Well, I think it certainly means a lot, and we're fortunate in so many ways here within our program to have a lot of a lot of resources, a lot of staff members that can really hone in and focus on areas that at the end of the day may not affect the student athletes' lives on the field, but how we can take care of things for them off the field and just making sure they can focus on being the best student athletes they can possibly be. I think we really pride ourselves, Bernard, on really just making sure that their experience from the time they commit to this program to the time they either leave to play professional baseball or leave as graduates, we've made it about them at every turn. And I think that's where, well before I got here and certainly well after I leave, that will always be the emphasis within this program is how can we develop these young men on and off the field? They're getting that opportunity to play in the best conference. They're getting an opportunity to get one of the best degrees in the country. And ultimately, we hope that sets them up for success in whatever it is they want to do. And, the environment that Coach Corbin creates, the environment that we all create as staff members, I think plays a big part in the experience for them, whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We want it to be the same and very consistent for them every single year.
One of the things that I think is so much more known now than when you and I were playing way back in the day and really prior to social media. Back in the day, you saw the guys playing in person or you saw them playing on television, but you didn't know what went on behind the scenes. And the Vanderbilt athletics department and your department do such a great job of showing so much more than that through social media that you get to see that support. And I know a lot of it goes to showing junior high and high school kids who may be interested in the program or may have the abilities to play and of interest to come to be offered by you guys. But back then, we never knew, was there weight training? What kind of nutrition did they get? What kind of academic support? And as you said, not everybody. In fact, Vanderbilt obviously does a better job than others about getting kids drafted or into the professional ranks after they leave Vanderbilt. But it's still a very small percentage of college baseball players or college athletes who get to go to the next level. Talk to us a little bit, Brooks, about what is there. Not every Vandy boy gets to be drafted or signs a free agent deal. In fact, the shelf life or the professional life is probably very small, even for those who do. Talk a little bit about that support that you guys provide, not just for the 4 or 5 years they're on campus, but for the next 40 plus years in the real world, if you will.
Well, I think the first thing, Bernard, is that the proof is in the pudding with choosing Vanderbilt for from an educational standpoint, for a degree. You know what you're getting when you step onto this campus. You know it's going to be challenging, and you know that whenever you complete that degree, whether that is in the normal 4-year process or after our guys come back and finish their career of professional baseball to finish their degree, which most of them do, they're going to be able to step out into the business world and accomplish a lot of different things. And that degree is going to carry a lot of weight. I like to think that the daily progressions they experience from the time they show up as, a bright-eyed 17, 18-year-old freshman till the time that they leave, the amount of, I would say, effort and kind of foundational skill sets that Corbs himself really tries to instill in these guys every single year in the time we spend in our team classroom, as we call it, we talk so much more about anything but baseball. We spend very little time talking about baseball because we know when these guys get here, yes, they do need to improve as players on the field, but they wouldn't have been able to show up here unless they were talented and had a baseball skill set that could compete at the SEC level. So how do you build a team? How do you build, an adult? How do you build a responsible mindset? And I think that's where, when these kids come in, that's the skill set that needs the most refinement. And we spend a lot of time really trying to fine tune that because, if you can build a better man, it's going to build a better baseball player. If you can build better individuals, it's going to build a better team. And I think in turn, once you get past that team element of playing at Vanderbilt, you're always going to be on some sort of team. You're on a team right now, and the people you work with, I have teammates who are our staff members, and whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a baseball coach, whether you're a CEO, you're always going to be functioning as part of a team. And when you can learn those elements of, okay, where does my individual piece of the puzzle fit within that team dynamic? Those are lessons that you're always going to be able to lean back on no matter what college you go to. And I think that's what he does such a really good job of.
You can have the most athletic gifts in the world to your sport, but if you're a jerk or an a-hole to your teammates and the people around you, you're not of any good to your team. One of the things, Brooks, that I enjoy the most, and I'm a baseball nerd through and through, people who know me know that, I love coming up in the fall to campus and going to those open to the public Friday practices that Coach Corbin, you guys have on campus at the Hawk. And I'll sit behind home plate and I'll listen and just soak it in, watching Coach Corbin teach the finer points of bunting to a catcher or whatever it may be. It goes, and for those of you who don't know, you can always spot a former Vanderbilt baseball player, the way they stand for the national anthem when they're playing in the professional ranks. And how is that, Brooks? Why is that important to the Coach Corbin and the what you guys teach to the program?
Well, I think, for him, that's obviously very important, but the details in general, those are all important. They all matter. And it's a team. It's not about individual. And I think when you can kind of remove that I and me mindset and really focus and lean into team and how we dress, how we look, how we carry ourselves as a unit, things like the national anthem, they become much more important than maybe they do to some other teams, because that is an opportunity to participate within a team activity. You're not out there doing that for yourself. You're doing it with a group of people. And how we stand, how we honor our country, and really how we unify as a team. Those are all details that are very important, and we make sure to train and talk about, and don't just leave it to chance and assume they're going to be able to do it on their own, because they may never have been taught how to properly stand for the national anthem. They may never have been taught how to do some of the little things that, you and I might take for granted because we learned them at an early age or somebody taught them to us. You can't leave any of that to chance, especially in a team environment where you want those details to have the utmost importance, no matter if it's, like you said, a catcher bunting, standing for the national anthem, or just how we look when we, traveled, on the road. All of those things, they carry a lot of weight. Do they help you win and lose ball games? Some people would say no. I say that they do, because if you can get all of the details right, at some point, those are going to pay you back. Maybe not on your watch, but those will pay you back when you do the little things right. I think the big things come a lot easier.
Brooks, I went to the Braves played. They hosted the Giants a few weeks ago, and I'm specifically sought out Dansby Swanson, Kurt Casale, Yastrzemski at the national anthem, and that's the way they were standing. It's the same as you'd see at the Hawk with the current team, and it stands out. It truly does. And I want to transition, because I know a little bit of the dynamics of the varsity sports on campus at Vanderbilt. And I know with through the guidance of athletics director Candace Lee, there's been an ongoing culture shift in the last couple of years. And one of the emphasis that I've learned a little bit, and this is what I'd like you to kind of expound a little bit on, is the dynamics, the relationships between those varsity coaches. Coach Corbin with Coach Clark Lee, with Coach Stackhouse, you name it. What goes on there that really fosters such a better environment than maybe in years past?
Well, you said it. It all starts at the top with Candace and her, leadership abilities. And she's someone who's been around here a long time. She played here. She has multiple degrees from Vanderbilt, so she understands not only the good but also the bad and the direction that she wants to take this thing and her vision for changing how some things have been done in the past. And that's no knock on anyone. It takes a commitment from a whole lot of people to compete in the SEC and move an athletic department in the direction that you want it to go. So it starts there, but I think it continues with hiring the right people. And, there were some of these people that were in place, and there's some people that she's hired that have the right vision that matches the mindset that you want to have to compete at this level. So I think the fact that we are a little bit smaller of an athletic department than most across the country, you're able to foster some relationships that I don't think you can at other places because there are less people. So it's easier to get to know folks, and it's easier to walk over and say hello and really get to understand what other sports are going through, but also to idea share and to say, hey, have you been to this city? Have you stayed at this place? Did you eat at this location? Or what did you think when you went on the road and played in this environment? You get all kinds of different perspectives from different sports. So I think that's unique. Corbs and Clark, they've known each other for a long time, well before Clark was here. And I think that's a relationship that has certainly, gained a little bit of traction since he's been hired here, just based on that relationship. But, why would you not want to pick the brain? Same with James Franklin when he was here and the relationship he built with Corbs. Why would you not want to pick the brain of somebody who came in, inherited a program that quite frankly had very little to no success in several decades prior to him being here, and to see what he's been able to, help build with a lot of folks, but help build and sustain and make into a very consistent program within the toughest conference in all of college athletics. I think you want to be able to learn from somebody like that. So when you're able to walk across the street and have that conversation and share ideas, and Corbs is a huge football guy. He loves football. He's coached football in his past. So I think he loves to be able to share ideas and talk shop and those different things. And you mentioned Coach Stackhouse, getting to be around a guy like that played at the very highest level of basketball and was an all-star and all the things that he accomplished. For him to come out and sing the national anthem at our super regional game.
That was so awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to find that at a lot of different places. And even just the willingness for him to want to do that, I think was really special. And, when we're playing in Omaha and those guys hop on a plane, whether it's, Scott Limbaugh, our golf coach, or, Stack or Coach Lee, hopping on a plane and flying out to watch us play. And those are the first guys in the dugout after a win or a loss. And, they're there to support you. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen at other schools, because it does. Yeah. But I do think it is a little bit different here in that ability to just have some interdepartment relationships that aren't as surface level as you probably get at a lot of places. I think they're a lot deeper, and the support, certainly comes from that.
Yeah, I think that the culture right now is just getting better. I think it can always be better, but it's probably better than it's been in many, many years, if not really ever. Brooks, how important was it for the football team to show up at the regionals and super regionals this year at the Hawk?
It was one of the best things that I have seen since I've been at Vanderbilt since 2016, was just that buy-in from a group of individuals that, more than anything, they wanted to spend time with each other. And I think that's one of the coolest things about team, is they wanted to support something that was within their university, but it meant a lot to them to be there as a unit. They weren't, sporadically tossed, spread out amongst the stands. They were there as a group, and they took it on as a team activity, something where they could engage within the environment with, 40 or 50 of them. They made an impact. And I think that's the one thing, within the Hawkins field environment that we talk about all the time, is it's always packed. There's always people, but we want to be able to generate energy and noise that can be sent back to the field that our guys can, feed off of. And they really help create that. And I think, right above our dugout, and they're having fun and our guys are playing well, that's all related. The energy that we try to send back up to the stands, the fans send that right back to you. And it's just kind of this ripple effect of energy that really does impact the opponent. You watch football. I think getting to see crowds back here in 2021 has been pretty unique because it's worth a possession. It's worth some points. It makes a difference for teams that go on the road, and it matters in baseball too. So that was a big piece of getting those guys in the stands and watching them do that for the last couple of weeks of the season, and hopefully can continue that in 2022. But we really appreciated those guys, and it certainly didn't go unnoticed.
I can remember back in my day when the Hawk wasn't the Hawk, it was just chain link fences, and you could go grab the foul balls 2 innings after they're hit. Obviously, it's not that way anymore, but the Hawk is still confined to less than 4,000 seats, and to have those guys on the dugout, in the outfield, wherever they were, makes it. I can only imagine in person how much impression it is, because on TV you certainly could see it. Now, can Mike Wright, can he swing a bat? Does Vaz and Brakefield, do they want to go play wide receiver? Do you have any crossover requests?
No real crossover. I think that all of those guys are busy enough trying to keep up with their own sports and their own academic workload. But you watch those guys play on Saturdays, and then you watch our guys play over the course of the spring, and you see the athleticism, the speed, the body control. There's a lot of transferable skills that they probably could bring to the field. Not to say they couldn't do it. I think it'd be tough.
Well, I'm sure historically there are a few student athletes who play multiple sports, but with that academic environment at Vanderbilt, I know that it's got to be tough. Guys, I'm talking with Brooks Webb. He's the general manager and chief of staff for the Vanderbilt baseball program, and I'm glad he's been able to squeeze in a little time. We got a few more minutes, but I got a couple of questions that are coming from the audience. Brooks, the first one is talking about playing multi-sports in junior high and high school. Is that something that you guys, the program, encourages, as opposed to just specialty, but just playing baseball year round?
Yeah, highly encourage that. I think that's the best way to learn your body, to learn different elements that, stretch your mind and really gives you a chance to learn what you're passionate about. And, I think back to, when I played soccer for a long period of time growing up, and I'm not a huge soccer fan now, but I do remember, the different team dynamics and the different understanding of spacing and body control and things that I didn't necessarily learn on a baseball field that I utilized, but they weren't coached, they weren't taught, and how that made me better, as a basketball player down in the post based on how I tried to maneuver my way around a soccer field. So for me, as somebody who, played collegiately, but certainly not professionally, it taught me a lot. And listening to coaches who have done it for a heck of a lot longer than me, Corbs in particular, he talks about how much he really enjoys recruiting hockey players. Jaron Kendall and Will Toffee, they played hockey. Jaron's from Wisconsin and Will from Massachusetts. And those guys were very, very good hockey players. You think about the toughness and just the different athletic traits that you have to be a hockey player and a baseball player. So yes, I think I'm not saying you have to play every single sport, but I think if you're passionate about different things that can teach you athleticism, keep you in different types of condition, whether that's long running, sprinting, burst, all of those things that come into play, that can't do anything but help you in the long run until you do, get to that point where you have to make a choice on what you want to try to make a career out of.
Yeah, I've heard of overuse injuries where pitchers, the younger, are just wearing out their arms, or maybe they're throwing certain pitches they shouldn't at a certain age. But I guess maybe rest between seasons may also be help, or if they utilize other body parts in the other sports. And I knew this question was coming, Brooks. The program with 5 College World Series appearances, 2 titles, and a runner-up twice. How does an up-and-coming baseball player get on the radar of the Vanderbilt baseball program to be considered for recruitment?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I mean, I think I always think the easiest way is to get on campus and attend one of our camps. I think that's the no-brainer opportunity, where a lot of our roster every single year, they attended a camp at some point during their amateur career. So being able to attend one of those, it's the real opportunity for us to get to know players, kind of on and off the field, because you are able to converse and teach and see their skill set, and they get to, obviously evaluate us too, evaluate us as a staff and see, okay, is that a personality that I want to be coached by? Is that somebody I'd want to play for? Is that a city or a campus that I can see myself in? So I've always thought, same for me, growing up, that was the best way to be able to kind of identify, is this a fit for me? And is it a fit for Vanderbilt?
It's with the announcement with Oklahoma and Texas joining the already toughest baseball and football conference in the country. I know Texas has a rich history with baseball. Does Coach Corbin have a relationship with those programs, those coaches, and are they going to be on the schedule in the upcoming next few years before they officially join?
Well, I think we all, I think about Oklahoma and Texas in particular. We all have relationships with, with coaches that are at those programs, and they've been good for long periods of time, as you alluded to. Texas, one of the more historical programs in college baseball history. So, yeah, we definitely have relationships with those guys, and they're very tough, tough opponents to begin with. We were supposed to play Oklahoma in the MLB4 tournament in Phoenix in 2020 before that all kind of fell apart with the COVID situation. But not any immediate plans, I don't think, to play either of those teams, but we all do play in some of those same kind of early season tournaments at big league parks like the MLB4. So we do have a few of those over the next couple of years where you could see an Oklahoma or a Texas pop in there. But excited about having them join. Only makes the conference better. It wasn't easy to begin with. It's not going to be easy, with or without them. So having them in the fray certainly, only makes things a lot more fun, a lot more competitive, and two more college cities to get to visit and get to experience playing in a different ballpark.
Oh, Austin is such an awesome city. I know you know that. Just a couple more minutes, Brooks, but how exciting is it for the team to go play in professional stadiums, like when they go to Los Angeles for that tournament and other places in the country?
That's a good question, Bernard. I think that I've always thought when you play in the SEC, and no, it's not the big leagues, but you are playing in some stadiums and some environments that have a real environment to them with fan bases and sheer size. And, we sit in a facility. I'm very lucky to get to sit in the office I sit in today. We sit in facilities that rival that of, big league complexes to some degree. But when we do get to go play at a Dodger stadium, to go play, at the Houston Astros stadium, we'll go to Dallas in a few years and play in the new Rangers stadium. It's still really cool for the kids to be able to do that. You get to see, kind of not necessarily that they're out of their element or that they don't belong, but you can just see a little bit different, the smiles, the energy, and just kind of the looking around. They're not in all of it because they think they all aspire to be able to play there one day, but there is something really nostalgic about stepping into a big league ballpark. And even me, I'm not one to ever really get starstruck, but when I walk into a big league park and just kind of look out on the field, I always kind of get the chills because of how special the game of baseball is to me. But getting to watch guys that have made a career out of it, I think that's really cool. And I think for our guys to be a few years removed from hopefully fulfilling that dream, to get to sink their cleats into, grass and dirt or turf, whatever it might be, that's always going to be a cool thing for them.
Is there any truth to the rumor that I'm now starting that they're going to take over your office to expand the professionals locker room into your space? Because it's got to be a crowded locker room at this place. I mean, at this point.
If that's what it took for the program and we needed more space, I would gladly do it because those guys, they built this. They built this building. They built this office that I sit in. They built that locker room themselves based on the success that they had here at Vanderbilt and the time and effort, the blood, sweat, tears that they poured into this place. And I think, Corb said this the other day, any new facility that you get, any new upgrades, the people that are in it aren't the ones who built it. It's the people that came before you. And that's a really unique way to look at it. And I think why we place so much emphasis on wanting to have, an open door for the professional guys when they're done with their season and they do get to that off season kind of regimen and routine they want to get in where they do have a pro locker room they can come back to. And it's almost like they never left. That was always the goal. When Corbs had, a 5 locker room back in 2006, 2007 in our old facility, but when we moved into the new space and, you walk people around, they say, oh, this is a nice team locker room. And you say, no, that's not our team locker room. That's for our professional guys. And That's not I don't say that from, this elite mindset. That's just the reality of what we have been able to, build for those guys, and they've been able to invest and build for themselves to come back and have a really nice home that they never really had to leave. They can work here, they can continue to get better here, and they can pass down lessons and things that they learned at the professional ranks to the current team. And that's a very unique environment to be able to walk into on a daily basis.
Well, I wanted you to expand just a little bit about that interaction during the off season, during the winter, between the current team and the pros, because it seems like not just former Vanderbilt baseball players, but other professionals who may be friends with them are now calling Nashville home, and they're finding their way to campus because of what's been built. Can you share a little bit about the dynamics between the current team and the pros who come back to train?
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of that. It's not necessarily an everyday thing. It's not something that is planned. It just kind of happens organically in the sense of, I think when certain players come back, they may say, hey, okay, I play this position. Who are the guys that are going to play that position on this year's team? Can you put me in touch with them? I want to get to know them a little bit. And when I'm out doing some early work on my own as a professional, I'll invite those guys out to come maybe take some reps with me. Where you see some crossover in the batting cage, where maybe our guys are down there getting some individual work and the pro guys are also down there, and you have some idea sharing. Same with the pitching lab, using different pieces of technology, talking about grips. That's what's really cool about that. And I think too, with the professionals, you get guys who, we've got, I think 12, 13 players in the big leagues this year. And you think about the varying degrees of success. You have somebody like Walker Buehler, who's going to be a Cy Young finalist, and other pitchers that have been in the big leagues all year, but maybe haven't had that level of success where they get to spend time around each other talking about, hey, what did how'd you attack this hitter? Tell me about this grip on this cutter that you just employed this year. So the ability to kind of have a baseball think tank in the off season with a lot of high level minds, but also be able to pass it down to some, younger, but very talented players. I think that's really as cool as it gets. And it's something that, I don't take for granted every day. And we really missed that during during the pandemic, not getting to have those guys around. So it's a little bit, it'll be a little bit like Christmas when the baseball offseason gets here and those guys start kind of funneling through the doors and it feels like normal again.
Well, several of the current major league level VandyBoys are going to be in the postseason. So you may have to wait a little bit for some of those guys to show up. But
as long as we need to, those guys.
Yeah. Yep. Share just a little bit before we get out of here, Brooks. Are fall practices going to be open to the public? Has there been any change in public, I guess, the protocol due to the pandemic to be able to attend anything publicly this fall?
Yeah, actually, we'll be putting out a press release later today or tomorrow, just kind of announcing when our fall training period will start. As of right now, I think the plan is to be able to move back to normal since it is outdoors, and just given the numbers that may show up, I think we're going to do all we can to have those open to the public, at least on most days. And that's another piece that you mentioned earlier that I think is unique. It's unique to Vanderbilt that we have folks who want to come out and watch us, train and practice and scrimmage on a daily basis. It's not just on a Thursday or just on a Friday. We have people that will come out every day. So we don't take that for granted, the support and the eyeballs that are on us all the time. And we want to get back to that for sure.
For those of you who've never been or not familiar with what I'm referring to, these practices that are open in the fall, there's not just 4 or 5 people in the stands. There could be a few hundred people in the stands. And if you're a baseball fan, this is the place to be, because you listen and you can hear and watch how efficient. It's amazing to see 40 to 50 guys moving around that field in such an efficient way. But Brooks, I could talk to you, this for forever, but we all have other things we've got to do today. But I want to thank you for spending some time just sharing more of the insight about the VandyBoys program and what it's become and what it does so well. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you having me on, and we'll do it again soon. And I look forward to seeing you when you get up here to one of these training sessions this fall.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And guys, as we try to do always on Tuesdays, but today on Monday, we had a scheduling change. Nomberg Law Live. We come to you every week for about 30 minutes. It's interesting conversations with people in their areas of expertise, and Brooks Webb certainly has, at least for me, one of those jobs that I hope to grow up to be able to be one day. But y'all continue to be safe out there. Do what's right for you and your family, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.